Hey y'all, so today I wanted to dive into a topic that will be really helpful for any buyers out there actively looking at homes and any realtors that are assisting their buyers. So I know that it is a real tough market right now, and so today we're going to dive into how to write a winning offer in a multiple offer situation. Right now here in Northeast Florida, it is very much so a seller's market. So just to give you a frame of reference, in a normal balanced market, so balance between buyer and seller's market, usually you have about 6 months of inventory. In January of 2022, so it's a month later now, but in January of 2022, I think we had 1.2 months of inventory, which is insane. So when a house does come on the market, all these buyers are flooding in. There's a high demand for it, and it is driving prices up. Therefore, we're seeing a lot of multiple offer situations, and we all know how hard it can be when you and your buyer want the same house as 40 other people. So today I wanted to dive into a couple of the things that I do in the offer and just as the agent representing my buyer to help make my buyer and I stand out and ultimately win that home. Oh, sorry, my dog just walked in here. Let me say hello. Everyone, say hello to Porter. Say hi. Hi. Okay, so I have my computer here and I will just go through the actual contract so I don't miss anything. All right, so first thing that I like to do if I know I'm in a multiple offer situation, and I will also preface this is not every single home. There are some sellers that way overlist their home, and I am not telling my buyers to offer over asking price and do all of these things. This is under the scenario that I know there's multiple offers, there's a deadline, it's a house my buyers love and want to get into, it's in a good condition, all of those things. So if any of those things are not that way, then we will adjust accordingly. This is just all of the things you could possibly do in your offer to make it stronger, not that you do all of these things in one offer. So the first thing that you can do is in here in Northeast Florida, we have a binder deposit period. So once you are under contract, that's the execution date. Here it is standard to have your binder deposit delivered within 3 days of the execution date. So what I like to do is I like to shorten that down to 2 or even 1 day. That just shows that my buyers are eager to get into the home. They're serious about this and they're turning their money in tomorrow. Another thing is that typically here, it's just a rule of thumb, not actually a legitimate rule. People will put down 1% of a binder deposit, and another thing you can do is up that amount. So you can do 1.5% or 2% just to show that you have strong financing, you have the money to be putting down. So this binder deposit goes towards your closing costs and your down payment at the end, and it's not in addition to, so it's just paying a little bit more upfront and a little bit less on closing day. So those are 2 things you can do to make your offer stand out, but I would say out of those 2, it's honestly best to just go ahead and shorten that due date that you're going to be delivering the deposit. That just shows, as a listing agent, it shows that these buyers are serious and like ready to get this ball rolling. So I try to think of everything in the frame of mind of like, if I was a listing agent, what would I like to see? So then you write your purchase price. So if you're the realtor, obviously pull comps, or if you're the buyer, your realtor should be pulling comps for you and just talking to a listing agent to get a feel for the types of offers that they will be getting. So if it's a scenario where you can and should offer over asking price, then do so and consult with your realtor on what a winning price would be, but also not something that's crazy and not going to appraise down the road. So next will be your loan approval period. So this period is just to have financing completely approved by your lender. So if my buyers are pre-approved with a lender that I know and trust, then I will call them up and say, hey, do you think we could get loan approval in 27 days or 28 days? And that is just a little bit more ambitious and shows that the sellers and the listing agent that, hey, you're going to know my buyers are all good to go a few days sooner than you would with anyone else. There's less room for hiccups when you have a shorter timeline that you're working with. So standard is 30 days, by the way. I did not say that, so I will shorten it by a couple of days, but also you don't want to do too much because at least right now appraisers are really backed up. And so I don't want to say we'll close in 25 days and everything's good to go, but we're just waiting on the appraiser to get out at the house and have to extend anything. No one wants to do that. The next thing that you can do to make your offer stronger is shorten your inspection/due diligence period. So here in Northeast Florida, they're pretty much one and the same. So standard is 10 days. And if you want to back out, if you're the buyer and you want to back out for any reason during this period, you can, and then also get your binder deposit back. So it can simply be because that you don't like the color of the front door anymore, or you really hate the oak tree that's in the front yard, or you're simply not moving to Florida anymore, you had a job change, things like that. It really does not matter what the reason is. You don't even have to necessarily disclose it. It is at the buyer's sole discretion. So as a seller, that's a little bit scary of a period where you know your buyer can back out for any reason. So one thing that you can do is shorten that period. So that's fewer days that they have to worry about a buyer backing out. Typically, I don't like to go less than 7, simply so that way we can make sure we get an inspector on schedule to get out there and then leave enough turnaround time to get the inspection report back, review it, and write up any repair requests if we do have them. Another thing you can do here is in terms to inspections and repairs. So, and this is of course a case-by-case basis. If you and your buyer feel confident in the condition of the home, so your realtor has pulled all the permits for you, you know the age of the roof, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, water heater, water softeners, all the main components to the home, you know that, and you and your buyer are okay with that. Of course, barring that there's nothing major that comes up in the inspection report, that you can write in additional terms that your buyer will purchase the home as is with the right to inspect. So this means that you're not going to be asking for repairs. You can still ask for credits, but it just means that you're not going to be having the seller having to get them to have a bunch of contractors come out, make a bunch of repairs. And honestly, when I see that as a listing agent, I tell my sellers, technically, you can still ask for repairs. If you really wanted to, you can ask for repairs, but that's just a signal to me to know that that buyer is not going to be nitpicking little cosmetic things or anything like that, that they'll stick to anything that is actually majorly wrong with the home for safety reasons. So that's another thing you can do. And then also what I do is I make sure before I write the offer, I've showed the home, my buyers love it, they want to write the offer. I call up the listing agent and I just like to chat with them, introduce myself, and just start getting into the conversation about what is important to the seller. So in terms of closing time frame, if the home is occupied, then say, hey, I've noticed that the sellers still live there. Do they have a plan of where they're going next? And kind of start down that conversation. Maybe they want a quick closing. That is usually what people assume. But what if the sellers are building a home and their home's not going to be ready for another 2 months and they need someone who's really flexible because builders push back closing dates all the time by days and weeks at a time. They need someone who's flexible on closing day. And they need like at least 2 months. And so whereas people may assume they want a quick closing, they actually want a longer closing and they want someone who's willing to adjust. So getting that tidbits of information is so important and has made the difference in a lot of the offers that I have gotten accepted for my buyers. So definitely close on the seller's best time frame if that works for your buyers. The next thing is one thing that you can do, and I only do this if I know I'm in like a crazy amount of offer situations, like 40 offers, but your buyers can offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs. This guarantees money in their pockets. And I know not every buyer is in the position to do that, so I don't do that too often. But if my buyer is willing and able to, and I think that it's necessary, then that's something to consider putting in your offer. Another thing that I do, so I personally am partnered with a title company here locally, and they have agreed to waive the settlement fee for any of the contracts I bring to them. So whether that's a buyer or a seller. So if typically the seller and the listing agent choose what title company to work with, at least here in Northeast Florida, but I will put in the additional terms that if they want the settlement fee waived, which is about $350, it's not too significant, but you're saving money. If they want it waived, then Attorney's Title or Titan Title, they're the same company, they're just rebranding, but they will waive their settlement fee if they hold closing with them. So that's one thing that I do to make it stick out. They don't have to go with our title company by any means if they have someone they know and trust, but it's an opportunity for the sellers to save another couple $100 more. Okay, so the last thing that you can do that I think adds value to your offer in certain scenarios is offering money towards an appraisal gap. So if you or your realtor think that this home might not appraise for what you are actually offering, then it might be wise to offer towards an appraisal gap. So if, of course, the buyers are willing and able to do so with their finances, then this gives the sellers more assurance that they're going to be at least get more closer to the purchase price. So let's say that you're offering $350 on a home, but you and your realtor kind of think like the appraisal will be around $335. Then offering up to $5,000 of an appraisal gap will give the sellers more assurance that they're going to at least get $5,000 more if it doesn't appraise. This will not exceed the purchase price. So if it appraises at $350, they're not getting $355. But this gives them a little bit more assurance that they will get at least more money than the appraisal value, which is very valuable to them. So that would be the last thing I would recommend, putting in an offer in certain circumstances to help you win that offer. Okay, so just a few other things that I like to do as the agent representing my buyer is, like I mentioned earlier, I'm calling the listing agent before I submit the offer. I'm asking what's important to the seller, and then I'm also just giving her or him a little bit of information about my buyers. So I'll say my buyer's first and last name, they work at XYZ company, they've been renting here for a few years, and they've decided to make Jacksonville their permanent home. They're expecting a little one in a couple of months, or whatever the circumstance may be. I just like to give a little bit of information, because then in my email when I send the offer, I will just reiterate that so they know, okay, that's the agent that called me. Because they're getting so many phone calls a day about their listing that they might not actually remember you. So that's a little trigger just to help them remember who you are, that you in fact did reach out to them. Because I know a lot of listing agents place high importance on a buyer's agent calling them and having good communication, because they want to know that they're going to have a smooth transaction. They're going to be working someone who's on the ball. So I'm doing that. And then in my email, so I've written up the offer with my buyers. Then I personally have recently started doing a cover letter in my offers. So I'll try and see if I can put it here. If not, I'm just going to chat about it. But this is a letter from me to the listing agent, and it's just saying, hi, so-and-so, thank you so much for letting my buyers and I view your seller's property today and for being so responsive to all of our questions. They love this home. They especially like the backyard, or whatever the main feature of the home is. And I say below is an outline of the attached offer. And I will go through and say all those things that we did include in our offer that are not standard. Then I go ahead and highlight in this cover letter for them, so they kind of get the nuts and bolts of what they're about to read without having to flip through 15 pages, 20 pages of a contract. So I do that, and I say that I am very responsive and on the ball, and I will make this transaction as seamless as possible on my end, and I look forward to the opportunity to work with you. So that I put in there first. So that is to the listing agent. And I like to put all of my documents into one document. I did not used to do this. I used to just attach all 4 to 7 attachments that there were to the offer with all the disclosures, pre-approvals, letters, things like that. But I found that some listing agents, and rightfully so, will just forward the attachment that is the offer to the seller, and the seller never sees anything else. So I want the seller to at least have the opportunity to read everything. So my letter, if my buyers are writing a letter, the pre-approval letter. I want them to see all of that information up front and not have that be missed just because I simply didn't put it all in one document. So I put my letter first, then I put the offer, all of the disclosures. If my buyers write a letter, I put that up for first as well. Then the pre-approval and any other documents that are needed for that transaction, I put it all into one. And then in the body of the email, I will just reiterate, like, thank you so much for your time today. I'm excited to present this offer on behalf of my customers, so and so and so and so. Attached is, and I outline each document that I have attached, just so I personally like lists, and so that way they see, okay, this person remembered all of the forms, because there's so many times that agents will forget forms or forget a signature or things like that. So I type that all up, attach the one document with all of the forms, and then send it on out. And then I always will reach back out to the listing agent, whether it is text message. I also at the bottom of the email say, please confirm receipt of this email and this offer. Because there are so many times where a listing agent just will not respond, and I have no idea if they have even presented it to the seller or anything like that. So I want to know that they have seen it and they're going to present it. So I put that at the bottom of my email, and then I go ahead and send a text message and say, hey, I just want to let you know I just submitted shot over an offer to you. So if you could just please confirm receipt, that would be great. And that is all. Then we wait around and hope for good news. Alrighty, y'all, I hope this video was so helpful for you, whether you are a buyer tired of searching for homes and you just want to get in one and want to know what to do differently, or you're a buyer's agent tired of writing these offers that are not getting accepted. I hope that you learned a couple tips and tricks from this video that have at least worked for me in the past. And if there's anything that, if you're an agent and there's another thing that you guys do in your market, I would love to hear, because I still lose out on offers as well. And I'm always wanting to know how to better myself and also do better for my clients. So please let me know if you have any questions or you are looking in the Northeast Florida area. I will be happy to help you. I will put my information on the next screen and you can reach out to me and I will be happy to help. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.